Hey guys, what's up? X here. In this video, we're going to be discussing things that you can do to better optimize your PC, as well as hopefully fix those potential crashes that have been going on since the game came out. I highly recommend that you guys watch this entire video, as I guarantee there will be stuff in here that will help you, even if you've done some of these steps. So, let's get started. Alright guys, so let's get started. I went ahead and I made a list on the things that I will be discussing on optimization and crashing. The first thing is going to be our XMP and BIOS. And what that is that is an acronym for Extreme Memory Profile. What this does is it allows your RAM to run at the speed that you bought it at. So for example, if you bought DDR4 RAM at 3600 megahertz like my RAM, which is G-Skill, in order for it to run at 3600 megahertz, you need XMP to be enabled within your motherboard, within BIOS. If it's not enabled, you're going to be running at base clock speeds, which is usually listed in fine print when you buy memory, not in big numbers like the XMP numbers are, which for DDR4 is 2133 megahertz. So if you want your memory to function at the highest possibility, then you want XMP to always be enabled within BIOS. This goes for DDR3, DDR4, and DDR5 RAM. Without it enabled, you are sacrificing performance a lot, and you are also potentially causing crashes. So what you need to do is you need to look up your motherboard, you need to look up BIOS, and then you need to look up a guide on how to enable this if you do not already know how to do so. Motherboards that come from factory generally have this turned off by default, and I've even heard of some pre-built gaming machines having it turned off as well, which is crazy. So make sure it is definitely enabled. That is a massive game changer. Then we're going to go with updates. Having everything updated is very important. It causes stability, which is the biggest thing that you want when you're running a computer. BIOS I have listed here because it's your foundation for everything. Your CPU, your GPU, your hardware, is directly plugged into your motherboard. BIOS, helps that communicate with Windows, which is your house. So for anything, when you're updating drivers, you want to download the drivers directly from the manufacturer itself. So CPU drivers, right from their website, BIOS drivers, right from their website, GPU drivers, right from their website. GPU drivers and CPU drivers are really easy to install. They're done right through Windows. You go to the manufacturer's website, you download them, you install them, make sure they're up to date. The only thing with Intel that annoys me is they list beta drivers with their regular drivers. So make sure you're not downloading anything that's beta, because that could be technically unstable. So make sure it's non-beta and you should be good. Motherboard's a little bit trickier to download updates because you usually have to update it through a specific method through BIOS. For example, I have an MSI Pro Z690A DDR4 board, and this is updated through mFlash, and MSI has went ahead and actually linked a YouTube video on how to do it directly through their website, which is great. And you'll see why BIOS updates are important, because they update CPU microcode, memory compatibility, your PCIe storage compatibility. So there's a lot of compatibility and a lot of changes that help the motherboard essentially interact with your CPU, with your NVMe drives, with your SATA drives, with your memory, etc. So you really want to make sure all of these things are updated, and then once you have your hardware updated, once that's done, you're going to want to go over to software, and you're going to want to go to updates in Windows and just check for updates and make sure that your computer is up to date. If for any reason you assume a recent Windows update is causing a problem, click on Update History, copy the code, paste it into a Google search, and do a search and see if you can find any information regarding instability with that recent update, regarding the programs or the games that you play. Generally speaking, Windows is pretty stable with their updates. I haven't had anything in quite a long time regarding Windows causing instability. Make sure those are updated. Once those are, we're going to go to some Windows settings, and the first one is going to be the controversial game mode. This has always been a topic for debate, but the answer is actually really simple. If you're on Windows 10, it should be turned off. If you're on Windows 11, it should be turned on. If you're on Windows 11 and you stream like I do, or you use a lot of background applications, then I recommend this is off because it can pull resources from those applications and cause them to not function as well. I have it off because I do stream and I'm recording right now in OBS, and I really don't want any sort of background stuff to be pulled away. If you're running a game in full screen exclusive like Call of Duty, it is full screen. Even stuff on your second monitor will be considered background. So it is important to have this off if you are a streamer, if you're using OBS or Streamlabs or things like that. If you have this turned on in Windows 11 and you're using Discord, Discord still does function as intended, so that is okay. The reason why it's off for Windows 10 is because it's actually not optimized as well, and it does cause a little bit of a performance hit. It's on in Windows 11 if you're strictly gaming because it's been optimized better for Windows 11 and it actually causes a performance boost. Next, we're going to go into our, close this out. For some reason, searching through there doesn't work as well. We're going to type in graphics settings, and we're going to make sure that the game that we're playing in this circumstance, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which is listed as Call of Duty HQ, is set to high performance. This is different than game mode, guys. This just allows the game to use as much performance as it needs. Game mode, for example, will restrict background applications, even if it doesn't necessarily have to, which is something that you usually want to avoid. Like I said, unless you don't need background applications running. So make sure this is set to high performance. I have every game set to high performance. Camera is set to power saving by default. I don't usually change anything else. I do have 8-64 Extreme set to high performance because that does monitor my hardware temps, my clock speeds, and things like that. And I want that to be as up to date as possible, just in case I think there's something going on with my PC. For example, this is my monitoring screen that comes off my second monitor. So that is set to high performance. That is the only thing I set to high performance other than my games. I don't even set OBS to high performance. I actually leave it on its regular setting because it functions very well like that. Then we're going to go into our overlays. And the first one we're going to talk about is GameDVR. GameDVR is a default thing that comes on Windows. It's part of the Xbox, game stuff, and GameDVR actually really does take a performance hit on your PC, and you may not really think of that. The same thing goes for other overlays like GeForce Experience, which I'll go over that in a minute. But essentially what these overlays do is they are constantly recording footage in the background. So when you click, on your GameDVR and you say record what happened 30 seconds ago, there's footage there for you. So disabling these things will actually help a lot of background, performance come back towards your game. If you're running a system that is, not super high end, sometimes that can make a pretty noticeable change. I've seen some people actually gain upwards to 10 frames just from disabling GameDVR. Unfortunately, GameDVR is not that easy to disable. That's being because it's really registry based. So we do have to go into our registry editor to change that. And I went ahead here, and in this file, I copied the exact path that you need to go to disable GameDVR from the registry. And I will put all of these things into the YouTube description, so don't worry about it. You can copy those by going into Run and clicking on Reg, edit REGEDIT. I already have the path pulled up. You're going to want to go into your computer, HK current user, software, Microsoft Windows, current version, GameDVR. And then you're going to want to click on the first thing, which is App Capture Enabled. And you're going to want to set that to 0. By default, that will be set to 1, but by setting it to 0, this is telling the computer at its core, Windows at its core, do not capture anything in the background. I don't want it. And afterwards, I recommend you go to Search, go to Settings, go down to Gaming, click Xbox Game Bar, and click Off for the controller if you're using controller so you don't accidentally open up Game Bar. Once that's done, you can actually go as far as going to Add and Remove Programs, and then deleting it from there, then having it uninstalled completely. Now, I have seen Windows updates downloaded back onto my computer only once, so after an update, I do check. I personally don't like GameDVR. I don't think it's necessary. It's okay if you're using it to talk to your Xbox friends. At that point, you can still disable the capturing aspect. But Discord is now regularly available on Xbox and PlayStation, and I think that's far superior, so I think that should be your communication choice. Rather the Xbox stuff. Unless you're looking to see if people are online, that could be another benefit, I suppose. But I don't really use Xbox Live. The second thing is going to be your GeForce experience, and in here you have your in-game overlay, and this will capture videos at all times as well, similar to the GameDVR, so I have this disabled. Now, you do not need GeForce Experience on your computer. You can just download the drivers directly from the website, like I said before. I have GeForce Experience because I actually too use the in-game overlay in other games for the filters. For example, Wildlander, which is a fantastic Skyrim mod pack and makes Skyrim super hardcore, completely changes the game. In Fallout 4, I like to change the way the game looks through the filters, so I will enable it for that. But for games like Call of Duty, I definitely recommend you disable this because you don't want this to be recording background stuff. If you want to record footage on PC, I definitely recommend you just use OBS, guys. OBS is probably the most resource lenient out of the three, in my opinion. You can run it in the background. You don't have to have it up on a second monitor, so I would just recommend you use OBS for that. If you are a streamer like I am, and you have OBS running with your stream live, and you happen to have GeForce Experience overlay on and GameDVR on, then you are literally recording your footage 3 entire times, and you are taking up a ton of resources doing that, and that will and does affect your frame rate. So make sure those two are off. Like I said, you don't need GeForce Experience. Follow the steps for the registry edit for GameDVR, and if you don't want GeForce Experience at all, just uninstall it and download the drivers directly from the website. Next, we're going to go into our ultimate performance mode, which is very important. By doing a search and typing in power, you can go to choose a power plan, and you'll see here that I have ultimate performance mode turned on. Now, this is not available by default. By default, you'll only see power saver, balance, and high performance. But ultimate performance literally allows your computer to run at 100% of its capability in terms of its power to its CPU, to its GPU, to its everything, to its memory, etc. You are maximizing your computer's potential. And the only way to enable this is actually through CMD with this code right here. And I will post this in the YouTube description as well. So we're going to copy this. We're going to go to run. We're going to click CMD, and then we're going to paste, enable, and ultimate performance mode is now something that is enabled in the computer. Then we will go back into our power plan settings, and we will enable it right through here. So ultimate performance is now enabled. Make sure that is set, guys. That is very important. The next thing is going to be our thread count and our extra tips. This is going to be for our Call of Duty file. The reason why extra tips is listed before these two is because they're all done within the same file. You know what? I can actually just change this to clutter. And by going to our documents, clicking Call of Duty, clicking players, you're going to see this file called options.3.cod22. Open this up in Notepad, and we're going to do a search. First, we're going to search thread. This will show our renderer worker count, and this is our thread count for handling the job queue. So this pretty much deals with your memory core usage in Call of Duty, and Call of Duty is not at all optimized for proper core usage. There's a really simple rule here that has been determined to work the best with Call of Duty by various professionals, and also through testing myself, I do agree with this. If you're on an Intel CPU, this should be set to 4. If you're on an AMD CPU, you're going to take the max amount of cores that you have and divide it by 2. So if you're on 10 cores, set this to 5, 12 cores, set this to 6, anything higher, just divide it by 2, anything lower, divide it by 2. Setting it to 4 for Intel is the best. It shouldn't be lower or higher than that. And that will really cause great optimization for your CPU, and you will definitely see, I promise, a change in your performance. Afterwards, we're going to change our video memory scale to 0.9 to make sure that your GPU is being optimized as much as possible. Call of Duty, for some reason, really likes to use a lot of CPU processing, which is unfortunate because CPUs are not nearly as powerful as high-end GPUs right now. For example, my 4080 is much more powerful than my 13700K. Even though the 13700K is one of the best in the market as of this video, it still is technically a bottleneck to the 4080. So I want to maximize my 4080, so setting that to 0.9, 90% GPU usage. It's great. It should not be lower than that or higher than that, guys. These are the two settings you want. Afterwards, we're going to search clutter. And this is a little hidden setting. So I have my clutter render distance in the game set to as high as possible, and that's 5,000 in the file. Technically, I can increase that, which the game doesn't even allow, to 10,000, which would make so much clutter on the ground. Oh my God, it would be ridiculous. There's no reason to go any higher than the 5,000 mark. But I can also reduce this as low as 100. That is, and does make, a phenomenal difference in performance. On Reddit, some users said that they saw a difference in 20 to 40 frames simply by setting this as low as 100. Now there is a bit of a nuance in this. Clutter on the ground will spawn in as you're moving towards it, so you will see a lot of pop-in clutter. If that doesn't bother you, then go ahead and change it. What the clutter entails for the most part is unnecessary stuff on the ground or on shelves, like garbage or tiny rocks or tiny little foliage, not big bushes, of course, but things that aren't important really for your eye, for things that you have to see. They're just there to make the game graphically more pleasing. So if you don't mind pop-in, I would recommend changing this as low as 100, because that will make a massive performance difference. Afterwards, you're going to want to save this, and then you're going to want to go to the file, right click, and you're going to want to click properties and then set it to read only. That's so your clutter stays exactly what you set it to, and so does your renderer worker count, your thread count. If you do not click that to read only, then the game can actually modify that when it boots, and then it can actually turn those things back to what they were. One thing to note, whatever settings you have in game are in this file. So I recommend you open up your game. I recommend you turn all the settings to exactly what you want them to, then go into the file, change your thread count, change your clutter count, and then save, and then click read only. And I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, that will make a very, very big difference. So after that, we have our cache, and to clear the cache, we're going to go to search, we're going to click run, and then we're going to go to % program data %. And this is going to open up our cache within Windows, our program data. A lot of people don't know that you need to clear this on PC. They're like, oh yeah, Xbox, PlayStation, I played those. I have to clear my cache to fix the game from crashing, etc. But PC, it's just as equally important. And a lot of people kind of overlook this, especially for games like Call of Duty that are known to have lots of bugs and problems. So when you open up your program data, you're going to see there's Battle.net, Battle.net Components, and Blizzard Entertainment. You're going to click strictly on Blizzard Entertainment, open up Battle.net folder within there, click cache, Control A, and delete everything within the cache folder. Now, I have already deleted this not too long ago, which is why there's only 2 folders in there. But if you haven't cleared this in a while, you may see as much as 200 to 300 folders. At one point, I had over 300 folders in here. And the reason why this is so important, guys, is because if you have cache from an old update and a new update comes out, you could have reading and writing issues, and your game can crash because things aren't cooperating the way that they should. Essentially, there's some stuff in the cache that works with old code, and it doesn't work well with the new code. So make sure you clear that, exit out of here, and then you're good to go. And then immediately afterwards, open up your game, which I already have it running here. And then you're going to go up top to your graphics settings, scroll down to reset shaders optimization, click restart on this, and then restart your game. I have this in windowed mode for the video, but I do always run the mode in full screen exclusive for max frame rates. This is just for the video here. So I'm going to close this, and then I'm going to open it back up, and I'll show you exactly what happens after you restart your shaders. So let's play. And what this is doing is this is, ensuring that your shaders, just like your cache, are up to date with the recent game code. If there was any if there are any changes to the shaders, within the most recent update, and your shader optimization is for the prior update. So if there was lighting changes or anything else, then you could actually be getting crashes from that as well. So it's very important. And you'll see up top it says shaders optimization is updating. Right now it's going towards 100. Once it's 100, you're good to go. Boom, perfect. So now we have our cache and our shaders completely optimized for the most recent update. And on top of that, guys, that is essentially it. Hey guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I highly appreciate you guys watching. I will be releasing another video on in-game settings to better increase performance. I hope that these tricks and tips I shared with you for optimization will help prevent game crashes and overall increase your gaming experience on your PC. If you do like the video, please like the video, subscribe to me here on YouTube to support me. I do release at least one video once a week. I also stream Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday on Twitch over at Xcision TV, and you can follow me on Twitter at Xcision Official. I do post updates there all the time. And on that note, guys, as always, take it easy. Peace out.